Yeah, or you took your super, super grenade bomb of goodness, which was so fun for you, but not much for everybody else.
Forge the Narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Red Pavel.
Hello.
And Adam Camilleri.
Hello.
So finally, after all this time, we get to talk about the Death Guard.
We have a Chaos Codex.
We do have a Chaos Codex.
So the Chaos Codex, and in a big way, like there's some changes in here. There are some things I think people maybe not have expected. We actually called a couple of the things that made its way in here, like with the Plague Surgeon.
Being a pseudo apothecary.
Yeah, not as good as, of course, as the Master Apothecary, which I know is going to get you riled up, but still not bad at all if you choose to build that into your list. But I don't even know that you need him.
I don't even know you need him either. I am very hyped. I'm actually really excited. I'm not a Death Guard player. Really excited for this book, just for the diversity it brings to the game, and also they're just such a good foil for two of the best armies in the competitive field. And I feel like we're going to see a nice healthy reshuffle of the top of the meta, which I think is always good.
With a focus on scoring points in missions being what wins you the game, like who cares if you can obliterate 2 things a turn or whatever? If you're only scoring 1 point, I guess reducing your opponent's ability to score some points is a good thing, but being in some place on the battlefield is a larger component of this edition than it has been in previous editions.
Yes, you're 100% right, Paul, in regards that staying on the battlefield is key. That it's no longer necessarily about killing, it's how you can hang in there. And I think that there's a lot of ways for them to hang in there. And not only do they hang in there, but the longer they hang in there, they turn it around on other folks, right? With the way that their contagions and the ranges spread, the longer they're in, it's kind of like, before this started, we were talking about, some stuff that Adam's considering taking. And how, if by turn 3, if these certain units aren't dead, it's pretty much game, right? I kind of think with Death Guard, they really sink that point in, that if you haven't dealt with this by this point in the game, you've got some other problems that you're probably, it could be overwhelming given what you're going to lose, because even with their resiliency and the matter of them being chaos, they really didn't lose a lot of their offensive capability. It wasn't diminished by any means. And so I think that's a really big point, and that they can hang in there longer, in my opinion, and they've got a lot of flexibility and capability of what they can do.
So one of the big changes of this is that summoning is out. There is no summoning. There's no plague bearers and nurglings or whatever built into this codex.
I did not know that. That is actually really interesting. Maybe summoning is reserved for demons only in their own codex.
I guess so. I mean, they were, look, in the Chaos, in the Death Guard book or whatever, it broke your chapter rules or your faction rules. So, it wasn't, you really couldn't get the benefit of having them in there, really. So I don't see it a big loss. I also think there's enough here in this book that you're not really losing any functionality of your list. I think it's built up in lots of other places. They're just not in the book where they were before.
I'd like to say that I haven't looked at this thing extensively. I'm actually going to be learning a lot from what we talk about here on this podcast. But man, for everything I've learned has just got me really hyped for the rest of what they can do with Chaos. I feel like Chaos has been an army that's only been interesting when you put 2 or 3 different codexes together. But dude, I feel like this codex is well fleshed out. It's not only that, it's thematic, like in this intimidating, inexorable, advanced kind of style, almost bully-esque, but kind of more plotting. You can't really sling that bully aspect into your opponent. Feels very Death Guard. Feels very nice. And my God, when we start talking about Mortarion, I'm just going to gush.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead just a bit if I can. I want to talk about how amazing Chaos Spawn are.
Yep.
So Chaos Spawn, and look, I think specifically in the Death Guard right now, they get a cool new strat that you can buff them up as a pregame strat. But the Chaos Spawn, movement 7, 4+ weapon skill, strength 5, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 2d3 attacks, leadership 9 with a 5+ save, and then you can, you give them their special ability, the Mutated Beyond Reason. They do get the Contagions of Nurgle, so they get everything that Death Guard have, and then there's a strategy that helps buff them up and gives them +1 toughness and some other stuff. And they are basically free, points-wise.
Once you've added everything onto them.
Right. Well, no, so what I'm saying, to get all of that, they are 23 points a model for all of that.
Jesus. Yeah, wow. So points per wound per resiliency. That's actually off its chops. That's really, really, really impressive.
Yeah, and they're fairly fast for Death Guard. I mean, movement 7, and then being, with all these attacks, we've talked about things in previous shows where you want some of those like flankers. You want them to be able to go up and get some of the objectives on the side of the table. You want some fast movement stuff or whatever. And look, I'm just going to say it. Death Guard Chaos Spawn are better than Outriders.
Oh, well, maybe now that we got 50-point Outriders.
That is a balancing point right there.
Because they are double the points, aren't they? Like now it's true double the points. It used to be 45, 23, 40, 46 comparable. But now, it's double. It's freaking double. How many points per spawn? 4?
23
Jesus.
points, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'm on that train. That's a good train.
Yeah, well, we'll get to the stratagems when we get a little bit deeper into it, but you can buff them up, and this is an old unit that's had different degrees of play throughout the years. So I have a few. I actually made some out of the river trolls. Like, believe it or not, the Chaos Spawn kit, like the models themselves, it's kind of you get a ton of bits in it. Like you can make some pretty gnarly looking things. But for Nurgle, for my Death Guard at the time, I wanted to make them a little bit more bloated and chunky or whatever. And the old Fantasy Battle river trolls with a few Chaos Spawn bits really fit the bill.
Well, I think that's the greatest thing about Spawn is they are a clean slate. As long as it looks messed up, you're good to go. Like, you do whatever you want. It's just got to look pretty funky at the end. Like, it can't be too clean. Unless maybe the Slaneshi ones. I don't know. Maybe the Slaneshi can get away with it.
Slaneshi ones are like models strutting across the table.
Super models that are just going to catwalk down and tear your face off. Yeah, I like that.
Exactly. But yeah, I really like it. I think that they are going to be not even a sleeper, like because you're going to hear it here and you're going to break out your old Chaos Bomb that you've had for years. But I think that they are going to be really deadly on the tabletop.
Agree. There's a couple of restrictions in this codex, isn't there? I had a friend telling me about some of them, and he was a little bit down on them. But I think they're actually awesome. I don't know if you're able to tell us about those, Paul.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about like the Infernal Jealousy, the fact that so you can include a maximum of one Lord of the Death Guard unit in each Death Guard detachment in your army. You can include a maximum of one Demon Prince in each Death Guard detachment in your army.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the only thing. I believe you can't have more Poxwalkers than other choices in your list.
Than other troops' choices. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you got to balance Poxwalkers with. Yeah. So you can't just min-max your troops, and you can't just min-max your Demon Princes, essentially.
You cannot include more Plague Follower units than Bubonic Astartes Core Infantry units in each Death Guard detachment. You cannot include more Poxwalker units than Bubonic Astartes Core Infantry units in each Death Guard detachment.
Well, see, right now that might feel a bit awkward when we have so many codexes that don't have restrictions like this. Right, as soon as most of them do, this is going to feel very natural, and I actually like it a lot. It could almost read, you cannot have more Demon Princes than anything else, because I think that's what people were taking. Like, because Death Guard Demon Princes was so resilient, especially with the separating plate, if that's still there. But it is. It's like the Death Guard. It's like the Death Guard Demon Prince clause. Do not stack Demon Princes. But I still think it's fine. It just means you just take a Psyker. You just take a Libby, essentially. Like it's very similar to restrictions the Space Marines have. Admittedly, like Chapter Master versus Chaos Lord, there are some differences there. But I mean, I think that the Chapter Master is way more expensive because due to the upgrades needed to get up to what that is. But there's a couple of extra lords now, isn't there? There's the Lord of Virulence, and then the ones with the new models or whatever they are.
Yeah. The Lord of Virulence is the new one, and then there's of course the Lord of Contagion, which is the old one, and so like that's all still in there.
Yeah, nothing wrong with any of those.
So look, the Death Guard characters are obviously cool, but you're probably going to take Mortarion, so forget all those other chumps.
Well, I mean, and it's something you got to think about, right? Like when I say this is the first Chaos Codex, not only that, but and you said it, Adam. The rest of the codexes are still to come out. How many actual, not counting supplements, how many other codexes have actually been released prior to this, right? I mean, Necrons and Space Marines, not counting supplements, acknowledging that those are there. I mean, is there another one? I think that's it, right? Necrons, Space Marines, Death Guard. And so those...
Blood Angels, sorry.
Well, I count those as supplements.
Same thing.
Yeah.
You're right.
But
I heard what you said.
The matter of limitations, I mean, Necrons, like you have to set it up like this. Your Warlord has to be this. there's built-in limitations to these armies, and I imagine that they're going to continue along that path.
Well, these things aren't new. These things they seem to me that these things are very old. They're like things we would have expected out of 4th and 5th edition, and they've only gone away for the latest kind of wave of things coming through from 7th onwards.
Well,
where
let's think about
you didn't really
the force org chart. Like the force org chart used to mean something,
exactly
and
right.
then progressively meant less and less. It was then more just a theory or some very loose guidelines on what you can include in a list. And now we've got, a little bit more dynamic force detachment rules, especially.
It is. It's very much like 7th edition detachments, right?
Yeah. And now coming back in with some of these other restrictions, if these get applied to all armies, then hey, we're good.
Exactly. I think they definitely are. Like, I expect Dark Eldar to come out with some kind of Archon restrictions, succubus restrictions, and homunculus restrictions, e.g., like they have one per detachment or some kind. But naturally that means that like witch cults need to have a second HQ, and or a bunch of the other ones like covens need to have a second HQ. None of these things do. So I'm interested to see what they do with those ones, because actually now that as soon as I said that out loud, that doesn't make sense. They've only got their 3 HQs unless you take special characters. But yeah, so I expect this to be something that's kind of wholesale across the board. I do like that things like the Necron book has, if you take an Overlord, the only person who could be the Warlord other than your Overlord is if you take the Silent King. I like things of that nature. Like Morty, if you take Morty, he has to be the Warlord, so you can't just pinch hit and just chuck in a cheapo to get the Warlord of choice. Because I feel like that always felt bad thematically, didn't it?
Well,
I don't know about how your guys' experience.
Stay on this for just a second. Is that I don't need the same restrictions, on every single codex. I just need, if they're going to have restrictions that are themey, like this is actually a theme in how Death Guard behave, how Nurgle behave, and that kind of stuff. It's one of those underlying traits of the Chaos God.
So you're saying that they should make these restrictions themselves thematic?
Thematic, right? And I think thematically it makes sense if Gilliman's on the field, or Abaddon, or the Silent King, or Mortarion. It kind of makes sense that they're not playing second fiddle to anybody else, right?
I'm with you there.
I don't get me wrong. Like after that, there could be different structures. I don't necessarily agree that a apothecary should be able to be the warlord while there's, like, say, a captain nearby. However, I understand there's a little bit more whatever you want, maybe narrative that's played into it.
Is the moment?
Sure. Yeah. So I get it.
I found that stratagem I was talking about. If I can jump back to Chaos Spawn, you're going to hear me mention Chaos Spawn about 100 times, probably. But the grandfatherly influence. Use this stratagem before the battle. When you are mustering your army, select one Death Guard Chaos Spawn unit from your army. Add 1 to the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. That unit has the disgustingly resilient ability. If it contains 3 or fewer models, it's 1 CP. Otherwise, it's 2 CP. Yeah, so that's toughness 6 Chaos Spawn with a damage reduction.
Yeah, I think that's actually phenomenal. I mean, where would you? That it does give you a little bit of a feeling of a Death Scar-esque inversement, but man, it's really good. Like this, that's kind of the equivalent of like Transhuman, yeah, for Death Guard.
Well, I guess the -1, but this is on Chaos Spawn. I'm telling you, this is on something that's already got a big stack of wounds.
Yeah, it's already got all the good stuff already. Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is awesome.
Yeah, and then the ability to get -4 AP on their attacks, or change their attack characteristics to 3d3, so up to 9 attacks apiece, or each time this model unit makes an attack, you can re-roll the wound roll. That's their mutated beyond thing that you roll during the 5 phase.
I think they're only good. I think you're onto it. I think you're onto something.
23 points apiece, like
for 23 points. I think they're savage.
Yeah.
A bit's being made of the Demon Engine increase, like because they got Weapon Skill, Bliss Skill 3+ now across the board, right?
They did. Yep.
Man, I'm a huge fan. I think Demon Engines have been too awful for too long, and the models are too incredible. I don't know how some people feel. The Mauler Fiend's a very divisive model. I'm a big fan. How do you guys feel?
What divisive over what? I'm interested to hear what other opinions you've heard.
Well, I can save you a little bit of time here. Death Guard do not get Mauler Fiends, so.
Oh, well, I know that. Divisive in the fact that some people loathe the model, some people absolutely adore it. Same as the I won't say the same for the Defiler because I think it's mutual now that everyone kind of loads that 20-year-old model.
I legitimately love the Mauler Fiends, and I went so far as to I kit bashed them. I say I kit bashed. I changed out their heads, and I can't remember the name of the dogs in Ghostbusters off the top of my head, but that's what I modeled them after.
Are you the Keymaster?
I got
the
two.
Keymaster and the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, I thought they had like a demon name or whatever.
They do. Yeah.
But that's what I had, two Death Guard Mauler Fiends. And I think they are freaking amazing. I love the models. That trim, it's like the Helldrake. You don't want to ever do more than two. By the time you get to your second one, you've gassed out.
Yeah, I've got a mate who says he found a texter that a lovely like gold trim texter that he uses to do all those. He might be big braining it, or it might be just a terrible finish that he's happy with. But either way, I think you look for a solution that suits you.
Oh, some people do the Sharpie markers, or they do the thing where they spray the model, the metallic, the gold or whatever, and then fill in around it and stuff. It's just, and look, you can sit down and do it in a week. You could sit down, I'm going to do the arm. I'm going to do one arm on day one, another arm on day two, the back on Wednesday. You could, like, you know what I mean? And then so you could pace it out, but it's a bit of a slog.
But anyway, sorry, I sidetracked us from Death Guard. But things like the Flesh Mower, which is the sickest named, I think it's the best named weapon in the entire game, the entire 40k lexicon. I challenge somebody in the comments to come up with a better named weapon than the Flesh Mower. Yeah,
I think the fetid blow drones are good. But see, I think they're competing though for some other things. Like once you start, I mean, look, Mortarion is 490 points, and he's a gorgeous model. He's getting a lot of beef online right now because he is brutal. Because people have not necessarily adapted to how to take him down or compartmentalize him.
Look, give us a month, we'll crack it, or we'll figure it out. Like he's not so broken that for 500 odd points he's going to be on every single table,
Well, Nightbringer takes him out. I mean, that's like pound for pound, Nightbringer's still better.
And he's what, 100 points, 120 points less?
Something like that, yeah.
370 versus Mortarion.
490 or whatever it is. Yeah. That's pretty good.
But going to the blood drum before we get too far away from it, is that with this gives this thing 12 attacks at our weapon skill 3+.
The Flesh Mower. Yeah, get on it.
At neg 2 AP, 2 damage.
And how cool are you? Just going to feel like the coolest guy in the room when you charge somebody with your Flesh Mower and tell them, "Oh, I'm going to attack you with my Flesh Mower."
We took one of these to the Adepticon team tournament a few years ago, and like we just had the points and like, how about a Flesh Mower? But really, no one knew what no one took them, so no one really knew what it did, and so it just get over off there in a corner somewhere and just exactly what it said on the tin, most from flesh.
So cool. Sorry, I'm fanboying the Flesh Mower.
It's actually good because look, the Death Guard are, I mean, look, they did get the Terminators got a little bit increase in movement, so that's like the real stealth upgrade there. But the Bloat Drones move 10, so that's double the range of most other things in this codex.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and it is 130 points up each, and 135 points if you take the Flesh Mower on there.
Which you should.
I don't know, man. The Heavy Blight Launcher is Assault 6, Strength 6, Neg 3 AP, 2 damage apiece. Plague Weapon.
Come on, Paul.
Oh, I'm taking the Flesh Mower. But you can make a case for a 10-point Blight Launcher.
Sure.
Sure.
All right.
I think when you're building your list, you're probably going to be taking a lot of Blightlar Terminators and the Death Shroud Terminators, which are going to be, they have to get up close. I mean, sure, they got a couple of guns or whatever, but you want to move them up and engage the enemy on their terms because you want your contagion abilities to spread out. You want to be chopping people down with those size and scoring points and stuff, and you need things to just kind of hang out on the edge and shoot some stuff.
Do we want to touch on contagion abilities a little bit?
Yes. I know we kind of jumped right into the...
we just jumped right into the juicies, but sure.
There's the pathogens, right? Which I think are a huge deal. But okay, the contagions of Nurgle, right? If every unit from your army has the Death Guard keyword, except unaligned units, this unit gains the following ability. The contagion is while an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that enemy unit. And it increases by battle round. So the first round is 1 inch. 1 inch. Battle round 2, it's 3 inches. Battle round 3, it's 6 inches. And battle round 4 and on, it's 9 inches. I think that's huge. I think that's a massive deal. It's a really big deal. And then you go on down to the pathogens, right? And these pathogens, I think, is really like it is just silly. Each time you give a model a deadly pathogen, select a plague weapon that model is equipped with to upgrade in addition to the effects listed for the death. For that, add 1 to the strength characteristic of that weapon, and it gets the deadly pathogen, right? The power rating goes up. So like this is like stuff you add on to it. And I don't want to override the contagion piece too much because I think that's huge in its own right. But these deadly pathogens each cost points to add on. And that stuff, it's things as simple as improving the armor penetration characteristic of the weapon by 1, right? Or it's something like each time an attack is made with this weapon against a vehicle unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of the attack. That's called corrosive filth.
Now, sorry, most of these are for the supporting characters, yeah? So not many of these are for demon princes or things of that ilk, or is it for anybody and everybody can get these?
So this can go on Death Guard character models or bubonic Astartes models that have the word champion in their
basically
profile.
sergeants.
So it's everybody. They do like special issue war gear essentially.
It is. That's what the passages are. So it's essentially special issue war gear. Yeah.
Man, I'm
that
so
you pay
game.
points for. That you don't have to
Awesome.
give up a CP or something.
Yeah. So similar to upgrading your apothecary, like everyone will always do because it's way too good. But yeah, fair. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's very fluffy as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to want to be up there,
guys.
Yeah, close and personal with folks. And anyway, you could make a case, but I actually like the fact that we get to have this discussion about what might make a good army list.
Well, yeah. What was Death Guard before this? Was cool. You're taking your Poxmonger's 4+ invulnerable save Wall of Boring, where you take. Yeah, your Wall of Boring.
Terminators.
I was going to say the Psychic Awakening kind of opened them up, in my opinion.
Yeah, or you took your super grenade bomb of goodness, which was so fun for you, but not much for everybody else.
Well, you can still do the grenade bomb of shenanigans.
Really?
Yeah. So
really?
It's called the Blightning. It's a 1 CP stratagem. It's not the exact same, but hear me out. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select up to 3 Death Guard models from your army. Until the end of that phase, plague weapons with the grenade type for those models are equipped with lose the blast ability and have type characteristic of pistol 6. Oof. Each time that model makes an attack with one of those weapons against an enemy unit within engagement range, that attack automatically hits the target.
Okay, that's cool. So any 3 from a unit or any 3 on the table?
Until the end, select up to 3 Death Guard models from your army.
Whew. What phase? Is that in any phase or pre-game?
Well, in the shooting phase, because you're firing a pistol.
That's cool. So in combat as well, because due to the pistol rule.
Well, it has to be.
That's pretty saucy.
Yeah. Each time the model makes an attack, but then so I guess you don't have to be within engagement range, but if you are within engagement range, it's an automatic hit.
I like it. I think that's a nice little cherry for people who are playing that style, because I was under the assumption that build would be entirely dead, just because I feel like GW's removing things of that ilk, things that could possibly lead to feel bad's interactions. Which it was,
Well, this is only 3 models, but it's 3 models split across, which I kind of like Nurgle 3, the 3 skulls, that's the Nurgle symbol.
I'm a fan.
Across the whole table, whatever. I'm in 3 different combats. You know what? Eat these grenades.
Yeah, it's definitely not of the same level of power, but it's still fun. It's still good. You're still probably going to use it every now and then.
Well, it's auto hit. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, especially if it's later in the round in the game and you've got CP to spare.
True.
I mean, I haven't actually looked at what the CP burn rate of this codex is, about what you absolutely have to have yet.
Yeah, we haven't deep dived enough to see how thirsty they may be.
Okay, so speaking of CP burn rate, I got to say, have you looked at the Tally Master?
Let's go.
So so previously you had to roll a 7 and you could get any CP back based off of that, right? It has now changed to you just need to roll a 7 or higher, and you get a CP back in the command phase, which I think is huge.
Wow, that is actually really huge.
Yes.
So a 7 or better, so it's a true 50-50.
Right. And then it's you choose a unit within 6 inches of him, and he gives them +1 to hit.
Wow. As well as you get both.
Yep, that's it. You get both.
Nice. I think that's really, really good. Wow, I'm actually impressed. How many points did this guy set you back, do you think?
I'll have to pull that.
I'll tell you in a second. The tally man is 70 points.
Well, tally man, tally me bananas. I think you're in.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going, is that I don't even know. The Plague Surgeon is that he has the... Revitalizing Malignancy. At the end of your movement phase, the model can heal one friendly bubonic Astartes infantry model whose unit is within 3 inches of it. The model regains D3 lost wounds. Only heal a model once per turn. And then a 3-inch aura. Each time a model in that unit would lose a wound, roll a d6. On a 6, that wound is not lost. It's good. I mean, that is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think you wouldn't want it, but there might be some better things because you're already kind of tough. You're already T5, -1 to damage.
Yeah, I think that might be down the road be a little bit of a meta pick once we see what people start trying to bring to counter what I think is going to be the new Death Guard menace. Because right now a lot of people are stacking 2 and 3 damage weapons to try and counter Marines. If that dies off a little bit because of all this -1 damage, and people start going to a bunch of assault cannons things, single instance, decent rend, high strength stuff like that becomes double and triple good. I'm a big fan of that though. I think it's bordering auto take, but I like that you said there are other things in here.
Well,
because if you had told me about the Tallyman before the Apothecary, I'd be like, Tallyman's auto include.
All right, well,
but if you can only take one or the other, I think
brace yourself. Foul Blight Spawn.
His 7-inch, I'm happy with this change because I've heard about this one.
At the start of
the first one they asked about.
You can select one enemy unit within 3 inches of this model. The unit is not eligible to fight this phase until after all eligible units in your army have done so. That's his putrefying stink.
Same as so it's essentially exactly the same as the Judicia, yeah?
Yeah, very similar.
Whoever you may reside wants to describe him. The juicy one.
Wrong.
Oh. The juicy one. But yeah, so it's exactly the same, except this guy, instead of having a big swingy sword, has he still got the super good flamer, the damage 3 flamer?
He does. It's damage 2 though. So he's got the Plague Sprayer, which is assault D6, strength 7, neg 3 AP, damage 2.
You don't have to roll for the you don't have to roll for the strength anymore because it used to be roll 2d6 for his strength, 1d6 for his shots. So he just gets strength 7.
Strength 7 all day.
Nice.
Auto hits.
Yeah, that's legit. I actually like that a lot.
Well, the way I see it is now. Look, I don't know until the figures get on the table, but I can foresee Death Guard maybe suffering a little bit in the momentum, controlling the momentum of the table. You probably need a turn or two to get positioned up. You might find yourself receiving a lot of charges. Well, if that's the case, slot in your Foul Blight Spawn and go to work with your Plague Flails.
Yep.
I mean, again,
totally agree.
I'm just saying that there's lots of choices here. That's why I don't think that the Plague Surgeon is necessarily an auto include, because there are some really good things in the rest of these choices.
Yeah. A lot of so I think beforehand when everyone kind of found out that a lot of these Marine troops choices, especially for Chaos, are going to get their second wound, a lot was made about how much would a Plague Marine go up. How many points would you have to pay for
How
this
much do you
double?
think they went up by?
I thought it would be somewhere between 15-20%. So I think they were somewhere in the regions of 17 points per model before. Don't quote me on that. I could be completely incorrect. But where are they sitting at the moment? 21
points each.
Oh, so I was about dead on. That's more like a 40% increase.
I can tell you what they were.
I'm looking it up now as well.
They were 21 points apiece.
They were 21 points.
Yeah.
Wait, Adam, where are you looking them up? You pulling them up? Did you get the app?
No.
Just thought I'd ask,
they were 21 points apiece. Are you saying they've stayed the same?
Stayed the same.
So all right. So an intercessor is 20 points. For one more point, you get -1 damage.
Yes.
Less, obviously, probably a less good ranged weapon, but
I mean, you got a bolter still.
Still got a bolter. It's just nothing going to rend on.
And a plague knife. I mean, you have a better. Yeah. You have your plague weapon.
You got a plague shank. You got a plague shiv. They should have called it a shiv. A trench shiv, but never mind. 21 points still. That's insane to me. That's really, really good value, guys.
Yes.
People argue. Oh, but they don't have the 5 up. You're just double as survivable.
Well, they don't have an Astartes chainsword or anything either. I mean, there are some differences.
But I've heard that a Plague Marine unit is far more customizable than it was before. Is that correct?
There's
you can take
a bunch of different options.
A bunch of different stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can work that kit.
They do, but it does. I will say you can't have. You can definitely make the kit work because they allowed everything that was in the kit, but only what was in the kit. Right? It used to be that you could have essentially, 3 people with special weapons, and it has been limited to a degree in that regard.
1 in 5 this, for every 5 that, you get to do something kind of thing.
Yeah, it's no longer like 3 guys with melta guns or plasma guns or something like that. It is. It's now adjusted to 1 in 5.
Yeah.
Gone are there used to be like a 5-man squad you'd run with like 3 special weapons, and that's just not a thing anymore.
What do troop choices look like? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking right now, maybe 1 unit of Poxwalkers and then a couple units of Plague Marines and Rhinos. Yes, I said Rhinos.
Oh, Rhinos. I love Rhinos.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, score some points.
I mean, it's chaos. We don't have fancy repulsors and stuff.
Well, and your Rhinos can take combi meltas, if I remember right.
Yeah, they can if you're willing to pay for them. That's right.
Oh. Well, so you got tiny little gunboats.
Yeah,
yeah. Combi meltas, combi plasma, combi flamers. So you get a little bit of punch in there if you want. You're not, and look, I know there are kind of some points, but you're wanting to be where B places score objectives. So I think the troops choices look something like that: a couple of unit of Plague Marines and then a unit of Poxwalkers, and then you can't go wrong with anything else in the Codex. We didn't really talk about defilers and stuff, Adam. I know we jumped around from the demon engine type of thing, but yeah, defilers with BS3, I think are a lot better than BS4.
So you guys might not like the defiler aesthetic before we get back into the rules of them, but I do. I like the kind of like almost obscene, like, can you imagine this big clunky demon engine thing screaming at you? Like just crazy, all crazy like while it hobbles towards you on all its goofy looking legs and everything, like nightmarish.
What was that bad Will Smith Kevin
Wild Wild West. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like the arachnid from the end of Wild Wild West. It looks like something that was made during like the Civil War. I am like, when I first saw it when I was a kid, big saucepan eyes, because I was like, wow, that's incredible. But you can't deny it's aged. You can't deny it. It doesn't hold up
next to the new. It's definitely old.
I would love to see what a new gen like G-Dub Defiler looks like. What does a Defiler made in 2021 look like? Because I think it'd blow my freaking mind.
The Rhino, if you took the combi melt on it, and it's 90 points. No, I know, but I'm just there. It's not. We didn't talk about this. It's 90 points if you took that loadout, and I think that that's not a bad option. The Defiler, fully loaded out, you're looking at about 190-ish points. Maybe 200, depending on how you load it out. For 14 wounds, 5+ invulnerable save, 3+ armor save, and it regains wounds. Yeah.
Oh, look, it's cool, man. I think it's good. I think it's worth considering. But that's the thing. I think everything in this book is now worth considering.
Yeah.
Because there has been times when, what happened when the Death Guard Codex came out in 8th? What really took off then?
Well, I want to also mention that the Defiler and the Rhino do not get disgustingly resilient.
Do they still have the thing they used to play? They used to be able to pay a CP in their Psychic Awakening to give something that didn't have DR.
I will check on that. But the Plague Burst Crawlers do have it. So there was some debate when we were talking about the news, the hype in the beginning about what would get that, what vehicles would and would not get it. So like Predators don't get it. The Plague Burst Crawlers do get it.
Man, Blitzkill 3+.
It's huge.
Plague Burst PBCs with -1 damage. That is really scary, guys. They were already one of the hardest things in the game to kill. They don't have 2 saves now, but -1 damage on that vehicle being toughness 8 is incredibly good. Like, you can't say that's not a buff.
Yeah, TA right? With an invulnerable save and then -1 damage. It's going to be around for a long, long time.
And dude, that BS3+ is big. Like, it used to be a real issue for PBCs going into things like Eldar, it's funny enough, the worst thing for PBCs was the mirror match. Like, they played against Nurgle Demons, and it's like, everything's -1 to hit. Guess I'm charging my PBCs in because they're not going to kill anything from range. Let's go for it, guys.
Well,
BS3+, game changer for them.
With the 2 entropy cannons, which is the only upgrade really on it, is 175 points for the PBC.
Yeah, look, that's about right, I think. That is more expensive than a Lehman Russ, but less expensive than a Tank Commander, and it's probably sitting somewhere between those two.
I think it's really got the offensive capability of it before wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it was a little streaky, mostly because of the BS4, but it wasn't bad. And now with the BS3, I think it's pretty good.
I like it. I like it a lot. I wonder what the foresight was on that design, because so that design, that vehicle came out 3-4 years ago. The PBC, and then only recently the Bombard tank has come out for Astartes in 30k.
Yeah, how about that, right?
And it's only been out in the last year. So the lead time, man, because you would think those were designed together, because that's it's such a marriage of those two. Like, this is the 10,000 year progression of this model. It blows my mind that GW could have got it so close and not have designed them in tandem.
Nice. I like seeing that. When we got that AdMech thing, and then that looked like it was the predecessor to the blow drone.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that was really cool as well.
All right,
They
well,
did a good job with that.
let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about psychic powers. Talk about Mortarion. We'll just ooze. We'll seep additional information. gonna be popping off. I'm done. That's all I got. Okay, see you in a minute.
FTN is brought to you by Discount Games Inc. Please visit them at www.discountgamesinc.com. And don't forget to ask Jay about ways to save even more on your hobby projects.
We are back, everybody. Still got Adam and Red here.
Shut up.
Hey.
Oh, we blazed past the Plague Burst Crawler too fast. The Plague Burst Mortar has its damage characteristic changed. It's now Strength 8, -2 AP, 2 damage, where it was previously D3 damage.
I love this change. D3s should be eradicated from all life and
strong
forgotten.
words. Strong words.
So
Leave them for random stuff in D&D.
Listen to you. But there is a stratagem that allows you to bump that up to the Disgusting Force to get the damage 3 on the characteristics.
Nice, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Are they
it's called
still blast?
Disgusting Force. It's heavy. Heavy D6. Blast weapons, yeah, it's blast.
Nice. So you're gonna have a 6 prime shots into unit of Lich Guard or something. You just pump it to the 3 with your flat. Yeah.
1 CP.
Nice.
Use this stratagem in your shooting phase when a Plague Burst Crawler model from your army is selected to shoot until the end of the phase. Each time the model makes an attack with a Plague Burst Mortar, that attack has a damage characteristic of 3. After that model has shot, select one enemy unit that was hit by 1 or more attacks with the Plague Burst Mortar by that model. Roll 1d6 for each other unit within 3 inches, excluding Nurgle units, of the selected unit. On a 4+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound.
That's cute. Yeah, that's a cute little bit on the end.
That ain't bad for 1 CP.
No, that's not fun. It's fine. If there's a lot of things that have 2 wounds and feel no pain, or just have 3 wounds. So yeah, being able to spike that damage is pretty nice.
Well, in some of those like kind of orbital bombardment rules, like we've seen in the past, there was a caveat that if it was a character was one of those, that you needed a 6 or something. Yeah. This isn't. This is anybody within 3 inches suffers a wound on a 4+.
You just cop it. I like it.
Yeah. So. Let's say, they got their lord retreating from combat because he's got 1 wound left or whatever. We'll launch PBC over there next to him and can choke on some fumes.
I even like the word PBC. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
It is.
It feels like a nice afternoon snack.
Yep.
It doesn't look like one.
Get a PBC and some sour cream and onion chips.
I mean, Morty probably thinks it's cute.
He does. Speaking of choking on fumes, let's talk about Possessed for a second. So I can't say that this speaks of future releases, but the Death Guard Possessed have a max unit size of 10 models.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, but it certainly doesn't mean nothing.
Yeah. So one of the popular choices right now is 20-man units of Possessed.
Yeah, I've got a good friend taking 60 Wordbearer Possessed to a big event on this weekend, and yeah, this is going to burst a little bit of his bubble. If it's adopted wholesale, that is. We should caveat that. Well, it might just be because they don't make sense for this, and if only Wordbearers get in with 20 mans, or
it could be a balancing thing within the Death Guard. Who knows? But this is. I don't want to read too much into it, but just saying. I'm reading the page here. 5 to 10 is the unit size.
I don't think that's make or break for anybody though. Like, there's a lot of other things going on with Death Guard now that I mean, just take Spawn. Cool. Just take Spawn. You're good.
Chaos Spawn are amazing. That's the 99th time that I've said it this podcast. So I'm only allotted 1 more per the rules.
Yeah,
that's for by the compact that we entered into.
Yeah. So there was a stratagem that enabled you to give something that didn't have disgusting and resilient. And from what you guys are telling me off camera, they don't have that anymore, do they?
I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm completely missing it, but I don't see that here.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
There is something with the Death Guard Demon Engine to basically eat something and get extra wound, get some wounds back.
That's sick. Because that used to be just their Hellforged rule in the old Forge World Index, the first one.
Now it's Demon Engine, things with the Demon Engine rule.
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah. So we said we're going to talk about some psychic powers, and I mean, things are pretty much business as usual in the psychic department.
Yeah, no major changes. There might be some of the changes in the verbiage. I'm not seeing anything drastic that stands out specifically. As I pull them up, I mean, you're looking at, the Miasma, Pestilence, Gift of Contagion, Plague Wind, Gift of Plagues, Curse of Leper, and Putrescent Vitality, all pretty much in there, right? Like, I mean, these are the ones, they all sound familiar to me.
The names are the same, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any significant nuance adjusted to that.
Well, I think what you'd look for in that is what may or may not work on Mortarion.
Right. Right. And I mean, a big thing, the miasma of pestilence, that was such a big one for their survivability, with the subtracting 1 from attack's hit roll. And then looking at Gift of Contagion, that one was really, I saw that one get used a lot, subtracting 1 from the strength characteristic, really bringing something down. But then, a lot of the other stuff was what was put on Mortarion from otherwise, right? And you're talking about, warp time, right? Huge, massive. And that's a Heretic Astartes psychic power. And then there was also the Demons of Nurgle psychic powers that were put on him to increase his lethality, really. And so the next thing we just don't know yet is how applicable are those? Are they applicable? Are they going to work? Right now they work for now, right? But is it going to work into the future? Is warp time going to be, because he is Heretic Astartes. He's also a Nurgle demon. Well, he's Nurgle and a demon. And so if that applies, then it should still work. I'm not saying it's going away by any means, but I just think that there might be an opportunity for that to happen if that's the case.
Yeah, so the Miasma Pestilence has a warp charge value of 6. It manifests as like one friendly Death Guard unit within 18 inches of the Psyker until the start of your next Psychic phase. Each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 for the attack's hit roll. And Mortarion is definitely Death Guard, and there are no other restrictions.
Yeah, well, think of how tough he's going to be to take out with that.
Yeah, so it used to be that the only play and the only way you could take Mortarion is if you could warp time him to make him do something turn 1, because everyone would just be like, oh my god, it's Mortarion, every single gun in existence, shoot that guy. And he would go down. But now he's got this whole new swathe of defensive abilities added, like, -1 damage, extra toughness. But yeah, like legit, he's so much more survivable now. Does he even need warp time? Or are you better off just putting him on the table and saying, if you don't start shooting him now, turn 2, turn 3 is just going to eat you? Because that's probably going to be the reality. Turn 1, you can zone him off, you can stay away from him getting into anything good. But turn 2, turn 3 on a small table, he's going to get to something.
Yeah. So warp time was mandatory because there was that, you needed that extra turn of jump. Well, as you know, we have removed that turn from the game because the board is shrink.
True.
So is warp time mandatory? I don't think it's mandatory anymore. Is it nice to have? It's definitely still nice to have.
Oh, for sure. If you can, well, so the thing is, you're actually giving something up now, though. Or can you, there's the 1 CP strat to exchange a psychic power, which is usually how, in a lot of times, you would get warp time into an army that didn't have it otherwise. But to bring a warp time from Heretic Astartes now from the Chaos Space Marine book, you'd have to lose your Contagion auras. You'd lose your -1 toughness bubble.
Yeah, I don't think you want to do that. I think that the shortness of the table, the fact that his minusing damage is an T8, and he gets shot at turn 1, then you get your Miasma of Pestilence up if you didn't get it up before. Mortarion also gets 3 Warlord traits, and that
just a few.
Yeah, so I think that's so. Let's read what they are, if we can do that, because that might also help with some of this durability thing that we're talking about. So he has Mortarion has Revoltingly Resilient, Living Plague, and then Arch Contaminator. So Revolting Resilient is each time a warlord would lose a wound on a D6 5+, that wound is not lost.
So same as it was. He just keep going.
Yeah. Living Plague. While an enemy unit is within 3 inches of the warlord, that unit cannot be affected by aura abilities, for excluding those that are psychic powers from the units of your opponent's army.
That's massive.
That's ridiculous.
I don't understand how people are complaining about Mortarion.
Oh man, that's so good.
And then Arch Contaminator. Each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack with a plague weapon, you can reroll the wound roll. Each time the model in the unit makes a ranged attack with a plague weapon, that targets a unit within 12 inches, you can reroll the wound roll. So that's for core units within 6 inches of the warlord.
Man, there is a lot going on with this guy. So he still has his captain's aura, yeah?
He does, yeah, but it's only for core stuff. Yeah. And
he also have a chapter master as well. He gives an aura of reroll ones, and he points at one of them and says, "You reroll everything," yeah?
So he has Primarch of the Death Guard. In your command phase, select one friendly Death Guard core or Death Guard character unit within 6 inches of the model until the start of your next command phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll.
Okay.
So yes.
So
And then Lord of the Death Guard core units within 6 reroll hit rolls of 1.
let me just break down this as a value proposition here. So people are paying, is it 30 points or 40 points in the Space Marine Codex to get rerolls to get the Chapter Master buff?
Yep.
And people are paying that at the moment. I've considered paying that at the moment. It's worth paying for. So he gives that, which is priced at, I think it's 40 points. I'm just going to double check in my Space Marine Codex really quickly. He also gives you a Captain's buff, which is or a Demon Prince buff, and I think the cheapest to get that is around 70, 80 points. You guys following with me so far? Then he gives you an aura of complete debuff. So as in you no longer have rerolls. So he's not only giving those, he's taking those away from his opponent. So you could almost say that it's double that value, because whatever you're paying for to get them, you're paying around the same points to deny them. Or maybe we'll halve that. All right, so it's 85 points for a captain, by the way. So yeah, we're looking at around 160 points worth of value just for the turn off and the give of the reroll ones. And he's on a better platform. Chapter Master is a 40-point purchase. So like already then is almost half his points cost just for the auras he's giving out. You know, and that's not taking into account the aura of -1 toughness should you be mono, the incredible offer to guts killing ability that he still retains. It's not quite as good as it used to be. He's lost a couple of things. Like, is there a Veterans of the Long War in there at the moment? Can you guys double check that one?
Don't see it.
And there's no Blades of Putrefaction psychic power, which used to be what he used to go in and used to get like 30 attacks with this guy, and 5s and 6s would give you mortal wounds on top of being super, super choppy in and of themselves. So this guy, he used to be one of the best killers in the game. I think he still is. But on top of that, he's now one of the best debuffers in the game. Like, bar none. No one does what this guy does.
Yeah. And he gets another Warlord trait too. You get to choose one of the Plague Company Warlord traits in addition to what you get as you use your Warlord.
Just a sweet little cherry on top.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good times.
So reroll once to hit. Reroll once to hit for all core. Reroll everything for 1 core unit. Reroll to wound on all plague weapons. You don't get any rerolls within range. He gives you -1 toughness. He kills everything. He's also a psyker, so he's self-buffing, self-sufficient. Doesn't need any support if he doesn't need it. Yeah, toughness 8, -1 damage, 5+ feel no pain. I'm losing my mind here. I could just keep going. There's
2 psychic powers. He has 2 psychic powers by himself and can deny up to 3 psychic powers. So he's and you don't want him to be up there anyway, so he's got to be causing some disruption.
So even when someone wants to try and debuff him, he's just like, nah, denied. Yeah. I love him. I think he's incredible. I think he's actually, don't come after me online. Actually, you probably, whatever, you're gonna anyway. He's probably undercosted. He probably does like a couple of things too much for his points. He's doing like half an army's worth of work.
He's 490 points.
Yeah.
That is a quarter of your army.
I think he's doing at least a quarter of your army's work. I think he's doing more than a quarter of your army's work.
Yeah, maybe so, but I mean, really, I know he's more than a distraction Carnifex. He's not a distraction Carnifex. He is the real deal. But you have... Sorry, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of on, we talked about the Silent King before when the Necron Codex came out. It's a centerpiece, right? The army revolves around what he does for the army itself. And
Which is kill the other opponent's army.
Oh, I mean, that's a key point of it. But look at how hard he is to kill, right? And what he does by taking out those auras, I mean, he becomes, like I said, I mean, the army centers around him. And he does just so much to keep the rest of the army in play while reducing the opponent so significantly well.
I love him. He feels like a Primarch again. Before he felt like a literal dead weight. You put him on the table and then you picked him up off the table.
Just wait for him to leave, yeah.
Yeah. And now, like, feels like a Primarch. Is it too good? Is it undercosted? It doesn't matter. Feels like a Primarch. Looks like a Primarch. Cracks like a Primarch. Probably a Primarch.
Yeah, well, I mean,
for the game.
Primarchs are demigods. They are supposed to be these, and this is a demonic-infused demigod. This is one of the most dramatic things our universe has ever seen in 40k. And feels like they got the rules to match. I don't mind it.
No, I don't mind it either. I don't mind it. I don't mind a Primarch being possibly too good. I think that's the right thing. I'd much rather that be too good than say Nurglings or Poxwalkers. Like, yeah. That if the game is going to be polarized by something, if I'm in a matchup with somebody, Death Guard versus whatever, Dark Angel, whatever, and the Mortarion is the thing that's going to win or lose in the game, that feels appropriate. Yeah.
It's a gorgeous model. It's a centerpiece. Death Guard players are going to want to have them, so why not make him playable? So go for it. I mean, I think this is spot on.
I think it's spot on as well. It's spot on or too good. I'm of the camp that this guy is definitely worth taking or worth considering.
Yeah.
To the same extent that Silent King is. I'm not sure you're going to want to take him in every list because, like you said, he is a quarter of your freaking list. But in the same region that the Silent King is. So you see some lists that have him in, some lists that don't. The ones that do are just as good as the ones that don't. They just play differently. And I think that's the sweet spot that G-Dub's trying to get to.
Yeah. He does count also. He buffs up his contagion from the start. Like he counts it as round 4. So he begins the game with the 9-inch contagion range.
I'm going to cry. First time I play this guy.
You know he's coming for you. It's not like he's, you can't hold him back at all.
Well, so there are arguments to say that as long as your opponent is entirely like laser focused on him, maybe you do hold him back. Maybe you'd be like, oh, cool. As long as you're willing to waste guns into him, it's fine. Actually, there's no way to heal this guy, is there? Like the tallyman doesn't heal him, or whatever the surgeon is.
I don't know that it's only infantry for the surgeon.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed. No, please, Lord, no. We don't need that haze.
I mean, there are. I believe there's Nurgle spells that can do that.
Like Nurgle demon spells. You're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Is it putrescent vitality or something?
I believe so.
And I haven't combed through the Plague Company Warlord traits to see if there's anything that gives a bonus to wound or something like that.
But yeah, there's a lot going on with this guy. And if the Death Guard Dex was just this guy getting updated, it would be enough to revitalize the faction, I think. But the fact that this guy is like the tip of the cherry on top of like what I think is a well-rounded, well-built Codex, really exciting times, man. And I'm just excited to see what I feel like is a good Chaos Codex. When was the last time I felt like there was a good Chaos Codex? Like, because the Chaos Space Marine one in 8th edition was good until Eldar came out,
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it was overshadowed. I mean, it was still good, it's still relevant, but it was only leveraging like 2 strong combos. It was death, like comboing up Death of the False Ember if you were in an Imperium meta, comboing the double shoot with Prescience, or the +1 to win Veterans Long War. So really happy to see them just have some meat on the bone that doesn't require a combo to pull off. And just like Morty does not need anything. Put him on the board, everything's there.
Here you go. Give him the Gloaming Bloat, which is the Mortarion's Anvil Warlord trait. The Warlord has the following ability. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, the enemy unit cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty cute.
Each time a model in the enemy's unit makes an attack roll, the hit roll and the wound roll cannot be rerolled.
So what's his other aura? So
that is something that turns off within a certain range. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, man.
A second. Yep.
So if he's in, is there any restriction on that, or does he have to be in an army with that faction or
no?
With that
So
company?
He gets you make him a warlord, and he gets all his other warlord traits, and then one of his other abilities on his sheet is pick one of these traits to give him at the first battle.
So it doesn't even need to be the one that the rest of your army is. So you just pick the
can't
one.
Duplicate someone else's warlord trait, but you're not.
That's pretty well worded.
You're giving
that's pretty
Mortarion's Anvil.
Good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is the living plague, which while an enemy unit is within 3 inches of the warlord, the unit cannot be affected by the aura abilities of units from your opponent's army. So if something was buffing them, they couldn't be buffed. But the gloaming, whatever it was, turns off rerolls on Mortarion.
Gosh. Yeah.
I'll let you just soak that in.
Mull that over.
Sop up that pus.
What do you got to do to kill this dude? I'm trying to piece together.
Clean living, man. A little bit.
Never mind. I think
there's wash your hands.
It's such an apt time for this guy to be coming out as well.
Oh man! So look, I think that with this, I like this army, and so I'm of course jazzed to get it on the table. I love Mortarion's model. Like it's gorgeous. I like the idea of a gibbering mounds of chaos flesh rolling at you. So Chaos Spawn. I think the idea of Death Guard, Plague Marines, and Rhinos is really evocative of the lore.
Yeah, that's fair. Can you still take 7-man Plague Marine units? Someone told me you couldn't.
That you couldn't?
Yeah, someone told me it was either 5s or 10s or more.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, it does sound crazy.
Who is telling you this stuff?
I get all sorts. I get all sorts of things coming my way, Paul.
Plague Marines are 4 to 9.
See, tripping. Nothing to it. I was trying to find a criticism of this book because so far I haven't got any.
4 to 9 with a champion, right?
Yeah.
So you can't take 20-mans anymore. So that's different.
Sure. Cannot. Yep.
Rhino meta, ring a ding ding, bring them back, dust them off.
I like Plague Burst Crawler. I like the way they look. I've always been impressed with the durability. I thought they had a good durability to damage output ratio, and those have both been increased.
Yeah, the damage output is very good. It's very, very, very good. Well, I think I saw a handful of people taking entropies, but most people always took the flame. I think the entropy I don't know what the points difference is, but the entropy feels a lot better now.
It's 5 extra points, 10 points for both of them. So I've always taken the entropy. I used to call them I thought they were ecto cannons, so I called them the ecto coolers after the Ghostbusters, like the juice drink that came out with Slimer on it or whatever.
Yep.
And I think me referring to them as that only gave me a little bit of luck with them.
Yeah, I like them a lot now. I think sitting at because a lot of I used to see a lot of people using them to screen, as in they'd cloud of flies something behind their 3 Plague West crawls with flamers. Maybe you don't do that anymore. Maybe they sit at the back of the board and they are just your mainline battle tank.
Man, you can throw these things into stuff like, oh, you got a dreadnought barreling down the pipe over here that could get into some of your squishier units. Throw a Plague Burst Crawler into it. I don't know if that works in this edition, but it worked in 8th.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think they sound very good. Is Cloud of Flies still there, guys?
It is. That's the one that takes away targeting things.
Yeah, has it changed at all?
Bear with me. So Cloud of Flies. I would love a crowd of fries. Use this stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select one bubonic Astartes infantry unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model shoots, if that unit is not the closest eligible target or within 12 inches of that model, then the unit that shooting is resolved, that model cannot target that unit.
That's just 2 CP, 1 CP, 9 CP.
2 CP/4 CP. So hang on a second. In addition, until the end of the phase, if the selected unit has the bodyguard ability, it loses that ability. If the selected unit has the Terminator keyword, this stratagem costs 4 CP. Otherwise, it costs 2 CP.
Jeez,
that's only for infantry. You can't do that.
I think that's the only second time in the game we've seen a 4 CP strat. Yeah.
Vect and Cloud of Flies for Terminators.
I think that's fair. Well, I think that's fair. I think the losing the bodyguard rule is actually kind of elegant. It means they've really thought about the implications, because you could just bodyguard a bunch of stuff with a couple of death shroud that you couldn't shoot. There's also the range restriction now as well. Like if you get within 12 inches, you can just shoot them.
Yeah, you ignore the strat. Yeah. Or you wouldn't use the strat, I guess.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there now, rather than it just being, haha, you can do nothing about this. There's some interplay between you and your opponent again.
Yeah, but and then I don't even mind the 4 CP. It's like, look, when you want it, that's probably how much it should cost.
Look, 5-turn game now instead of a 6, or Lord forbid a 7, depending on what format you used to be playing. You're probably only need it 1 turn a game.
Well, and you're getting CPs back, and you're getting Tallyman if you really want to go that route. So
yeah, he's just going to tally 7 or more bananas, and you get a CP. It's great.
Yeah, that's like basically a free Cloud of Flies every turn.
Every turn? Every 2 turns.
Well, Tallyman plus the regular CP.
Get it together, Paul. The cheap one. Yeah, you're right.
So basically, get whatever. I think there's power here, but it's like not power for power's sake. I think you're going to to maintain like the visual, like what the army should look like. I mean, I know that's subjective, maybe too subjective, but it's got a lot of what I think Death Guard probably had going on for him and when the lore was written.
I mean, Death Guard have always, like a pure Death Guard army has always played pretty Death Guard-y. It's just that style wasn't that good, especially not into 9th edition, where you have to exist quickly in portions of the table. I'm not quite sure that's going to change dramatically, but they feel a lot more plotty, advancey. That feels like there's more incentive to take infantry now rather than just one big blob of EG, either Blight Lords or Plague Marines, and then your Misk Poxwalkers and Cultists, because you can't. You got to have the same amount. So already that's kind of closed it off. I feel like we're going to see a lot more well-rounded lists, which I'm excited. I'm very excited to see. Man, Plague Marines for 21 points. Get on them, guys. That's such a bargain, man.
Yeah.
Such a bargain.
Like what were my purchases as soon as I absorbed all this? I got 5 more Blight Lord Terminators and another unit of Death Shrouds. Death Shrouds can go up to 6-man units.
Nice. I love those. Those are some of my favorite Terminator models. GW's ever done. The Death Shroud. They're so good.
And I
love that Terminator armor.
Yeah, I don't know that they weren't 6 before. I just know they are now, and I think they're pretty good.
Nice.
And then I think every Death Guard player probably had one of each of the unit champion buff things or whatever. Like all the Tallymans and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Probably still going to want those. But again, there's competition in that slot. I don't know what the most optimal thing is.
It's good. I think that's great. I like the dilemma.
Oh.
Well, I haven't got a good cost evaluation of how thirsty they're going to be or what you're going to be spending every turn. But that Tallyman and the Surgeon both seem like they're bordering on auto takes to me.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on the build. Like if you're playing, 60 Plague Marines, man, just saying that number in my head, I'm like, oh man, how do I kill 60 Plague Marines now? 60 Plague Marines, you're going to want the Apothecary equivalent, you're right? You're just going to want it. But if you're playing more mechanized with the blow drones and the what are the little ones? Methitic Blight Haulers and PBCs, you're not going to feel the need. So Tallyman's sitting on a back objective, just being a mad dog, given one of those. Can he give, wait, sorry, the Tallyman buff, the +1 to hit, is that for core? Or is that for infantry, or what's the restrictions there? Because we can just sit at the back and give one PBC hitting on 2 pluses, and then that PBC goes to 3 damage. That's a nice little package.
Yeah, I want to say it was core.
I want to hope it's core.
Yeah, it is. It's Plague Company core.
That's something I'd like to know. What is core in this book?
That's a great question. What isn't core, right? Because assuming if they're Space Marines, that they're carrying forward some, silly degree of a mass amount of core. That's something I'll have to spend a little more time going over to look at all of the different units.
Interestingly enough, the Cultist and Poxwalkers are decidedly not core.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's okay. Yep.
Yeah, so it's basically Plague Marines.
And I'm guessing the Terminators as well.
Yeah.
My assumption.
Yep. Deathstrike Terminators are core. Blightlord Terminators are core.
Huh. I would have, Cultists, whatever, but the Poxwalkers, I would have thought.
The Chaos Spawn are not core, so we finally found a
blemish.
See, I think that's a blemish. I think that's something to it, though, in that, so they were trying to get, how do you limit cultists from getting the benefit? Well, if they're no longer core, they miss out on a lot of benefits that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, that might be their workaround, because, I mean, Poxwalkers went down in points, if I remember correctly. So,
what were they, 7 before?
I want to say, I thought there were 6.
Poxwalkers are 5 points apiece now.
Yeah, I think they went down by 1 or 2 points.
Cultists are also 5 points. That's like the grot point. It's like if you're going to occupy some space on a table, you're at least costing 5 points.
Less than a guardsman now.
Yeah. Hey, just serve chaos, and you will basically have the same stats and cost less.
Yeah, you can be even more fodder.
That's the first time someone said that about Chaos. Hey, Chaos are getting the better end of this deal. Because usually it's been the other way around for so long.
Well, it's normally you go to Chaos, you drop a weapon skill or a blitz skill.
Exactly. You just get some inadvertent nerf. But remember what people were doing with Cultists at the start of 8th edition? And Cultists were just crushingly good. It was a bit silly.
No, I mean, you could spam them, right? You could have, I mean, you could have 60 to 100 of them. You bring Abaddon, make them fearless, and then they were getting all the different bonuses. Like, it was, why wouldn't you take something so cheap to get all the Legion traits?
And obviously, they were veterans,
right? Yes, they were veterans. Yeah, they were veterans of the Long War. This cultist who literally just Abaddon rocked up and he's like, in the ship, and then you get to the place, and then Abaddon's like, off the ship, and then you veterans of the Long War.
Oh, the stories they would tell each other on their bus ride from the village to the battlefield. They would just get them all
with their club, their family,
get them all frothed up, lathered into a frenzy.
Yeah, so good. Some of those things you just talk about now, and it sounds so silly, but that was the start of 8th. I'm happy to say the start of 9th so far has been far less ridiculous.
So the 60 Plague Marines is only 1,260 points.
So you still get a whole army.
So plenty of room to add in Mortarion. That puts you at 1,750. Plus, let's get a couple of Plague Surgeons.
Yeah, because you'd want 2 for that many, yeah?
Yeah. So now we're looking at about 1,900 points. So 100 points to throw in.
And you got it. So did you say 60
Chaos
Plague
Spawn?
Marines?
4 Chaos Spawn. What's that?
You said 60 Plague Marines, yeah?
Yeah.
You got to make it divisible by 7, man. What's wrong with you?
You said 60. I'm going off of your. I'm doing what you said.
I know. So I had an opportunity. It's fine.
I mean, this is not a good list because I think you need some rhinos and stuff. But yeah.
I'd drop it down to 40 something.
42.
Take 3 PBCs and mount them all up. Yeah. 49 with 4 of them in rhinos, 3 of them on foot. 3 PBCs and then character support. And then maybe you fit in 1 small termy bomb just to be your bully brick.
I think you've tried to edit out Mortarion from this list. I'm telling you, you're only playing with 1,500 points. You got to figure out how to make your spin.
Every list starts
1,500 points however you want.
And goes from there.
Well, until your friends decide they don't want to play you anymore, then you have to switch it up. I'm bringing 49 Plague Marines. It's fluffy again. It's great. and then they don't kill any for 2 turns, and then they're like, this sucks.
And it doesn't feel bad anymore. Like if you were taking 49 plague marines before, you were just like, one of these guys are going to throw some grenades eventually. And the other ones would just kind of limp around. But now, just like, geez, all of those could have a bunch of flails or melee weapons, a couple of blight launchers. You could deck them out to all be pretty multi-purpose. On top of that, 2 wounds with -1 damage. Like, imagine 10 Plague Marines now versus 5 Blade Guard veterans.
Oh,
It's actually really bad for the Blade Guard. So the Blade Guard go in, let's say they're souped up and they're, Blood Angels 1, so they're going to win you on 3s because your toughness 5, 4 attacks each.
Oh,
and then you're going to have a 6 up
on 4s.
And they're going to be, because you're Blood Angels, so you're +1 to wound. So they're strength 5 already, the Master Crafted.
Oh, I'm sorry, Blade Guard. Yes. I thought I was talking about regular Assault Intercept. Yes, carry on. Yep.
So wound on 3s, and you get a 6 up, and then maybe a Plague Surgeon 6 up. So like you don't even lose like half a unit.
No, and you're neg 1 damage. So you basically don't lose anything.
So you're going to have like they're going to have 21 attacks hitting on 3s, drop that down to 16, wounding on 3s, drop that down to 7. So it's probably about 10 wounds. And then 6s, you save 2, and then 6s again, you save another couple. So you lose like 3 Plague Marines. And then the flails come in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it feels pretty good, man.
Yeah, the Mace of Contagion is +2 strength.
Don't kill me don't kill me for my bad math. That was just straight out of the top of my head.
Oh, it's instinctual math. You're probably pretty closer than you think.
We'll see.
Yeah, the flail is neg 2 damage. Yeah, you'll stand there and you basically just holding down that unit till somebody else comes in and kills them, like with a Chaos Lord. Look, the Terminators are dead killy. I mean, they got extra attacks and movement. They're going to get in combat. I mean, they're no joke.
And they advance normally now as well. They used to advance half, and now they just advance like everybody else. They're just real boys again. They can use their stumpy little legs proper.
Yeah, I mean, Deathshroud Terminators coming in. No, look, one thing we didn't mention, there is no more Hateful Assault for these guys.
Yeah, they've had that attack pretty much baked into all the Marine side of things, don't they?
They did. So, you don't have to worry about... Well, I mean, they get the extra attack, but they're not, like, Hateful Assaulting on top of this. So their 4 attacks are their 4 attacks.
So it's just better. Then it's not triggered by a charge or a pile-in or whatever heroic intervention. They've just always got an extra attack. I think
it is. I mean, but it's a bit of a. I mean, it's not a nerf, but it's definitely a bit of a stealth thing. So I mean, if the Marines also got upgrades and they kept that. So it's like attacks on top of attacks, stacks on stacks.
That's true.
On stacks.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah, I agree with that.
But I mean, I'm not saying that that there has to be parity between the Loyalist Marines and the Chaos Marines either. It's just they definitely don't have it now.
Interesting.
That heralds it for Chaos in general.
It is interesting they don't have it.
But I mean, I guess think of it. We've been talking about this for an hour at this point, and the quote unquote, and I'm using the air quotes. I know, terrible for radio, but the nerfs are barely even worth talking about because of everything else in the book.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they are incredible. This is probably the best Codex they've ever had. Like
Death Guard, yeah, you might be right. Real exciting. Everyone crack out your Indominus boxes. It's a go time. You can convert those bloat drones into flesh mowers pretty easily.
Yeah, any tips? Is this the hobby corner?
It could. Well, yeah, I know we're over time, but no, I've used the barrels that come with all those other kits that like all the armor containers and that kind of stuff. They come with barrels. Those you can turn them sideways. Find some creative way, either with sprue or whatever, to attach them to the bloat drone. You got yourself a flesh mower.
Gotcha.
Chaos have spikes. You can put spikes all over them. That's what I did for my first one because the model didn't exist at the time.
Yeah, exciting time.
I dig it. Oh well, gentlemen, this is. I mean, look, this is good things for Chaos. I mean, this is a powerful enemy. It's going to hit the tabletop, and people will play it, and it is injecting something spicy into the mix.
Well, I've been worried for the longest time there was no cohesive direction for Chaos, and I've really wanted to see a Chaos Codex built around the 9th edition limitations and archetypes or whatever. And now I'm not that worried anymore for Chaos. I think if all the Chaos Codices come out and they're of this ilk, Chaos will be a fantastic top tier faction with a lot of meat on the bone.
Yeah, I think this is like tournament winning contention here.
Yeah, right now this thing is going to flip thing. The -1 damage really hurts Sisters and really hurts White Scars. Like Marines across the board, it really, really, really hurts. I'm super, super keen to see if we get any reshuffle of the kind of what's at the top of the pile at the moment. Like especially the Sisters. Like the Sisters are relying on Repentia to do so much of their heavy lifting. I can tell you right now, 1 damage Repentia, not that exciting.
Yeah, they're going to bounce off some of these things.
Absolutely.
I mean, so the
Especially
Terminators have tons of wounds. I mean, they do. They just have a shed pile of wounds.
Well,
And
dude, like
and every time that their 1 damage thing plays, I mean, it's basically like you're getting a free Terminator.
yeah, yep, that's it. And
I mean, you have to do 6 wounds, or I should say, if you're firing 2 damage weapons, it's normally 2 of them would take out a Deathshroud Terminator. Now it's more than that. It's basically 3 or more have to.
Well, you need 3 wounds to go through to kill one of them.
Yeah.
And so they've pretty much all got 4+ invulnerable saves. So you need 6 wounds to go through to like think you're going to kill one of them.
Yeah, and Blight Lords too. Blight Lords, you can have up to 10 Blight Lords in a unit. Like I think people are going to be hard pressed to have enough shots to effectively take these things out of commission. Anyway, I'm pumped.
I'm pumped as well.
All right, well let's wrap this up. We will. I mean, I think this is something we definitely are going to continue to talk about. We didn't cover 60 or 42 Plague Marines and Mortarion is not the most optimized list, but it will be fun. But I think next week I'll actually come correct with what I think is a pretty strong army list out of this.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, well, guys, anything else y'all want to bring up before we wrap it up?
If this is if Nurgle is a sign of the times for the rest of the Chaos Gods, I'm extremely excited.
Coming up at the end of the month, we're going to be doing the Las Vegas Nopen. It's going to be happening about a week after this show comes out. Please join us on the live stream. We're going to be streaming over three days with some of the best streamers in the industry with a bracketed tournament where the list competing to see out the best list with lists that they would have brought to the super tournament, giant tournament in Las Vegas. It's going to be fun to see how this plays out.
I'm so keen. So keen. Maybe letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, but I think we're going to have a Death Guard list built from this Codex in attendance. So I'm really keen to see how that does, man. Like I'm actually frothing to see how far that thing can go.
It's going to be fun. Well, tune in. Links will be in the show notes on how to join us for the live streams and the commentaries. Adam and myself will be doing live commentary, all the games. If you happen to speak Spanish, we're going to have a Spanish-speaking commentary team as well. That's kind of neat. It's going to be the first time we've done this.
Yeah, I think that's a crazy awesome addition to this. Like, there's no reason that English should be a barrier. There's no reason. Yeah, this game spawns covers the whole globe. There's no reason any language barrier should be there. If we could get one for every major language spoken on the planet, we would. But small baby steps. Baby steps.
We'll get there. All right, well, guys, thanks for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews anywhere you can. We really appreciate the comments on a place if you do interact in the comments. Love hearing what you think. Going to continue next week with more terrain discussions and stuff. I mean, tune in. You don't want to miss an episode this year.
We're just getting started, man.
We'll
just getting started.
That's right. See y'all next week.
See ya.
Night.
Handle the truth.